to We the People. Almost 8 years after the Gujarat riots of 2002, a Supreme Court appointed panel has now asked Gujarat Chief Minister Narendra Modi to appear before it. Will this dent Narendra Modi's image, or will it, as many are arguing, only reinforce his strength within Gujarat, which is mostly what happens every time you try and take Narendra Modi back to 2002. But what about Narendra Modi's image outside Gujarat? If he is going to be one of the BJP's national faces, is it time for Narendra Modi to reinvent himself, to rebrand himself? And is that possible without confronting the long shadow of 2002? That's our subject for We the People tonight. I want to start with somebody whose mother's petition, Zakia Jafri, actually made this all happen. The Gulberg Society killings, in which 69 people, including former Congress MP Teesta Setalvad, was burnt alive. Teesta Setalvad made a number of calls to different people in the Gujarat administration, but nobody came to help. Now we have his son Tanveer with us today. Tanveer, this move of summoning Narendra Modi, does it give you some hope at all that in a sense, बहुत वक्त गुजर गया, लेकिन something could happen now?
First of all, let me clear you that my mother's petition is not only about the Gulberg Society. It covers the complete event which took place in 2002, including the Gulberg Society, Noida, Sardarpura, Kadiad, and various other small places which happened. So it covers the complete massacre, which we are calling the genocide.
Yeah.
That it covers all those things. It is not about the Gulberg Society. Yes, Gulberg Society is special because my father could contact a lot of people on phone and tried to get the help, and it did not come.
You said he made 200 phone calls.
200 phone calls. He was on the phone from the morning till he left his house. That is my house. Now, and that is why we can prove, or it brings to us that there was some kind of a conspiracy behind it. Why in a city which is such a cosmopolitan city, which is told to be such a big city, and where my place is only 2 kilometers away from the commissioner office, why could the police did not come at his rescue since morning? In fact, I don't know, people know not, in the Gulberg Society, on the Gulberg Society's land, there was a police chowki also there. So there was a police chowki in the society itself.
And among the phone calls he made, your mother's petition says, was also a phone call to Mr. Modi.
Yes, it was. My mother's petition says that the witnesses have said in our Gulberg case, which are going on in the fast track court, they have said that he made a call there, and then during when he was speaking to the other side, he was abused also on the phone, and that is the time he lost his hope. And now I don't think any kind of a help can ever come. That is why he came out.
Yeah. Chandan, these stories have been told and they've been retold, and for the people who have to live through them, they aren't stories, they aren't statistics, this is their life.
Barkha, but
yeah.
Your question was, what is the hope? What hope I carry?
Yeah.
So now we have taken this battle from 2002 to 2010.
Yes.
We are here, and we have a Supreme Court appointed seat which is working for us.
Yes.
We are again and again approaching Supreme Court whenever we find some problem in the way the seat is dealing with.
Yes, we are going to look at that also. I'm going to come back to the issue of the panel itself being under scanner. But to the wider question, Chandan, first, we've seen very ambivalent statements from the BJP. First, just on the technical question of whether Modi is going to even appear before this panel. Does he have respect, in a sense, for the fact that this is a Supreme Court appointed panel? And given that the BJP's position is that the law should take its own course, will he at least be appearing before it?
Well, I can't speak on Mr. Modi's behalf. To the best of my knowledge, he is consulting legal opinion, and he will do what he is advised to do by the lawyers of the government. But I think, you see, the Gujarat government has a good record of complying with all directions given by the courts, and there has been no defiance, there has been no attempt to politicize anything that has been said by the courts. So I have no doubt that the due process of law will be conducted. Mr. Modi and the Gujarat government will cooperate fully with the law as they've been doing. And as far as you see these cases are concerned, I'm afraid we have heard these stories, and there's no doubt, we are all, I think every Indian is deeply pained by what happened in Gujarat in 2002, first in Godhra and subsequently after Godhra when it happened in other parts of the state. Now, there have been innumerable sort of inquiries that are going on. There is a Nanavati Commission that has submitted one part of the report, the second part is awaited. It has been gone through again and again and again.
And therefore?
And no, I think the matter should be brought to a close, because you see, for the 8 years, the media and activists have been running a trial outside the purview of the law that has been going on.
Yeah.
And I think one way or the other, this matter needs to be solved, because Gujarat and Gujaratis want to go ahead and want to go beyond what happened in 2002.
May I just ask you quickly before I turn to the other panelists, do you believe in a sense that the more you tag Narendra Modi with 2002, the more, of course, he seems to get stronger in Gujarat, but it stops the BJP from using him as a national figure? Rest of India doesn't react like that.
Well, that's a conjecture. I don't think there's
The figures represented it. He was one of your major rallyists in the last general elections. He didn't have any impact other than in Gujarat.
No, I wouldn't agree with that. I think Mr. Narendra Modi was among the major campaigners in the country, and he campaigned. There are some places the BJP won, some places the BJP lost. I don't think a direct correlation can be drawn between where Mr. Modi appeared, BJP won, because by that logic, you see, there are so many constituencies Sonia Gandhi visited and the Congress lost. So you can't say Sonia Gandhi was responsible for Congress losing all
well,
those
that's a bit of statistical sophistry there, but we'll return to that point. Teesta, now, you're in this sort of, for lack of a better word, you're in this paradoxical position where at one level you have fought for many years justice for the victims of the Gujarat riots, but you are also questioning the efficacy of the panel that's actually going to talk to Narendra Modi if that day were to come. What is your primary objection with this panel? Because Harish Salve, who's the amicus curiae in this case, and we can bring him up on the screen, is also with us. What is your specific objection to the panel?
Let me get a chance to answer in as much detail as the others have done. The question is like this, that these matters were pending in the Supreme Court between 2003 when the trials were stayed and 2008 when SIT was appointed. The day SIT was appointed in the Supreme Court, that day itself, the victim survivors, which include Tanveer and others, and the Citizens for Justice and Peace objected to the names put up by the Gujarat government and supported by Mr. Salve. These names were Shivanand Jha, who's a very close stooge of the Modi government, Mrs. Geeta Johri, and Mr. Ashish Bhatia. The very day they were appointed, we took objections. However, the Supreme Court felt we should go along with it. So we went along with the Supreme Court's decision, respecting it. After that 1.5 years passed, we fully cooperated with SIT. All of us appeared at least 5 times, submitted documents. When the charge sheets got filed between June 2009 and September 2009, we found to our horror that SIT had functioned almost as badly as the Gujarat police earlier, just 10 to 20% better.
You're casting those persons
R.K.
Raghavan.
No, let me finish. You're asking me something, let me say it.
Okay.
I mean, this is not a hysterical debate. Please, we've gone to court on this. So let me finish.
I didn't say it was hysterical.
No, but let me finish.
But
No. I'm saying that you butted in, so you must first listen to what I'm saying.
Okay.
October 23rd, 2009, we filed a detailed application before the Supreme Court. Supreme Court heard us on 7th December, 21st January and on 9th February. On 21st January and on 9th February, the Supreme Court asked Dr. Raghavan to respond to the allegations, saying that there was some weight in them. I rest my case because the hearing is tomorrow. I don't want to say anything more.
Fair enough.
I just want to quick observation.
And then I need to go to Harish.
There is a tendency on the part of the activists, you see, to be the complainant, the advocate, as well as the judge.
This is unfair.
Now they cannot possibly appropriate upon themselves that they are going to make the charges, they are going to argue, and they are going to deliver the verdict.
Okay,
and no other verdict except one which they want will satisfy.
Let's go beyond this. There are many other people waiting to speak. Harish Salve, as the amicus curiae in this case, and this is of course something coming up in the Supreme Court, how do you respond to the very serious questions raised about the credibility of the panel?
I don't think that's the right thing to discuss today. These allegations have been made in the Supreme Court. Teesta has been restrained by saying she's made allegations, the court is going to consider them. Mr. Raghavan has been asked to file a response, the court will consider. What worries me is, and this is where I join issue with Chandan to an extent. You see, we can't say that this is not going away or this has to be brought to a close. The Gujarat incidents of 2002 have put the system on trial. The Supreme Court appointed the SIT with Mr. Raghavan to supervise because the idea is if the police of a state has malfunctioned, apart from finding a fault which is necessary and punishing those responsible for the failure, it is necessary to rebuild the police. And it was hoped that with outside supervision, the performance of the investigation team would be such as would meet the requirements of a system governed by rule of law. And now we have to see how far that object has been fulfilled, and nothing is closed.
But Mr. Salve, you know, I know you don't want to get into specifics, but when two people on the panel, you know, their integrity is called into question, when one of them is an accused in Zakia Jafri's petition, is there not a problem there?
There is a serious problem. There is not just this, but there are a lot more problems. And this is undoubtedly one of the most delicate cases which the Supreme Court is handling. Beyond saying that, I don't want to say anything. I'm not saying anybody is at fault or not at fault, because these are, you have reputation of the SIT on one side, you have reputation of the NGOs on the other side, and they are sort of virtually now pitched against each other. So I don't think it's fair to discuss this on the media, because the court is seized of these matters.
All right,
but this is really a matter of serious concern.
Okay, and I think you put it interestingly. There is such a polarized debate that, you know, there is the view of the NGOs, there's the view, in a sense, of the Gujarat government. But may I ask you, in your legal opinion, does Narendra Modi, in a sense, face a legal and moral obligation, and I'm adding the word moral, to appear before this panel to respond to the summons at the very least?
See, there's no question of appearing before the panel. The panel is a police authority, and they have a right to interrogate, they have a right to investigate. And if they want to ask questions to any person, that person has to respond to the summons and give whatever statement he has to give to the police. So unless there is an interdiction by some court or a competent authority, the process of law will have to be followed.
All right, so in all likelihood, we are going to see Mr. Modi coming before this panel, depending on what the Supreme Court says on the petition that's coming up in the court on Monday. So here's to take this to the wider. Narendra Modi appears before this panel 8 years after the riots. Now, I want to remind you of an article that you wrote a while back. And you actually said, the caption was, "Why India Needs Narendra Modi." And you, on the one hand, spoke about the need for a culmination of justice in the riots, but also how he is this administrator, the likes of which India need many more. In fact, I think you called him one of the best performers in India's political system. How do you reconcile the efficient CEO with a man widely called the most divisive politician in India?
Let me take you back to 2003, since you've quoted an article in 2008, where I also called him a dictator which this country doesn't need. But that's been forgotten. In the article that you mentioned, which is written for the Financial Times, I very clearly said that what happened in Godhra and post that in Ahmedabad and across Gujarat was reprehensible. But I also said that when you analyze, and I went to Gujarat to address a Chamber of Commerce. I didn't go there to, you know, listen to SIT or whoever else there was. So my point was restricted to what people, from the cab driver who was driving me around, to people in chambers of commerce, to investors, what they were saying about the cleanliness of the administration. And my point was that you need administration which actually harks back to good governance that we've had in the past. But I have a bigger issue here. And taking from what Harish and Teesta said, I think we the people in this country have been taken for a ride and are taken for a ride constantly by the lethargy, the slowness of the system to respond and bring people to justice. From 1984 to 2010, we haven't booked people who were responsible for the Sikh riots. From 2002 to 2010, if Narendra Modi was guilty, he should have been behind bars many, many months or many years ago. The fact is, because you have an impotent judicial system which works at its own pace, and I have no disrespect for the law, but that's the way our systems are, the powerful get away. Okay. The reality is, perceptually, you are creating divisiveness amongst people. Let me tell you, as a consumer marketing person, what people actually say. And I hope whatever Shiv's views are will be there. One or two things. Number one, everyone isolates the two buckets. You have now created a situation for yourself where Narendra Modi's trial is seen as political victimization rather than law catching up. You have created that perception, not you as in Barka.
You the media.
No, not only the media, all of us around. Two, you have created a divisiveness which then creates a huge following of supporters. So when you go to Gujarat and tell the guy, look, why did you re-elect Narendra Modi? He says, to hell with what you guys in Delhi say, or to hell with what liberal media
It's become Gujarat versus rest of India.
No,
in a way.
No,
in a way.
You are deepening the divide, Barkha.
What I mean
not
by
you,
that...
Not you as
I
in
know,
you.
you don't have to keep qualifying that.
No,
what I mean by that... What I mean by Gujarat versus rest of India is that Narendra Modi has managed to play into this perception of the average Gujarati that the rest of India is vilifying them.
Absolutely. And go back to history, Barkha.
But Sohail, if I can interrupt you here, we've got Tanveer Jaffrey sitting here. Surely he's a victim. Rahul Dholakia. Yes, your film Parzania was also set in the Gulbarg society, where a little Parsi boy went missing, was never to be found. His parents, Rupa and Dara Modi, kept looking. He was never found. In all probability, he isn't alive. You made this film. You're also a Gujarati. And yet there's this whole sort of Gujarati wave in favor of Modi. And how do you reconcile there the contradiction of democracy, where the state routinely votes for him, but the legal system here, we're still debating whether the panel investigating him is a fair panel or not?
See, first of all, it's really sad that even today, I think Dara's son is missing. My family, my friends in Gujarat, they are very, very pro-Modi. And
they're pro-Modi?
Very pro-Modi.
Your family also?
Yeah. And then I have to get into this argument with them about the various issues which are there. And then they come to the issue of, they've got so many buses over here, now we've got new lanes, we've got something. But the basic issue is that what about the justice for the people who have been the victims, who are missing, whose parents are living a dead existence? There is absolutely no remorse over there. There is absolutely no regret over there. 8 years, and you keep doing this. What about those people? And what about the families? Aren't you responsible for your own people?
I think you have actually zoned in on the hub of this debate. And Teesta, to get you in, this is what actually makes the debate more and more polarized. Because even Narendra Modi himself seems to have decided this works politically for him. It's almost like he needs to keep an enemy alive to sustain himself politically in Gujarat.
I'd just like to remind you of one question put in a television channel questioning to Mr. Modi 3 or 4 months before the 2007 elections. We all know which channel it was. And a question was asked, very simple, that forget about anything else. Why don't you just express regret for what happened? He walked out of the television studio. Now, the point is not simply, I'm sure he must be a very good administrator. I don't want to go there. My point is, can we afford to have a person as its head of governance who does not feel even sorry for mass murder?
But Barkha, you have, in this country, willy-nilly, you have created precedents for goons, thugs, smugglers, criminals to come into politics. You had Shibu Soren. Don't forget. I mean, go back to history. You had Shibu Soren, who was a fugitive. He was on the run from the Union cabinet.
Wrong make a justify
not at all. So therefore, my point is, if you have criminality of this kind, the system must prevent these people from even standing for elections, because because democracy functions in very weird ways.
But I think that Narendra Modi is distinct in that psychological truth that Rahul has touched upon, in that he doesn't, we don't know whether he feels remorse. He certainly doesn't want to show it. I want to come back to Chandan and the others on that. But Harish, if I can get you in. You said this is the system on trial, in a sense. Not an individual, but a system. What to you has been the most glaring lacuna in the system? Would it be that we're still looking at whether even the panel that is investigating it is worthy of investigating it? There are those who are questioning the integrity by saying, why hasn't an FIR against Narendra Modi been launched? How do you respond to that?
I'll tell you, the system has been deficient at almost every level. The initial investigation was clearly a farce. The manner in which the initial trials were conducted would have achieved what they wanted, a quick closure. Of course, the closure would have been mass acquittals. The Supreme Court interdicted the trials, but then, unfortunately, the Supreme Court itself didn't find time for quite a few years to hear the case. I think this case should have been heard in 2003, in 2004, in 2005, instead of being delayed as it was. But anyway, so be it. So it is for all these reasons that this SIT conduct is now being probed, because the investigation is going on now, which investigation should have been over by June 2002. the trial should have been over by December 2002. And that is exactly Suhail's point, which is very validly taken. Because we drag things on in such a way, you give a chance to polarize public opinion.
Yeah.
And that is why I say the system is on trial today. And if at the end of 10 years somebody says that the investigation is not proper because the reconstituted state authority is not functioning properly, the supervision has failed, then an experiment which the Supreme Court tried has failed, then that has very far-reaching consequences. And I'll tell you, getting the CBI in to investigate, CBI is not a panacea for all evils. Immediately, there will be further political polarization, and then the federal question arises. So, this is a very thorny issue.
But it creates, Harish, a very, very grim and, in a sense, a kind of hopeless scenario about where to go from here. Professor
Barka, the Indian criminal justice system is a hopeless scenario.
There you are. That's it.
But then where, Harish, where do people go? Where do people go? Where do people go?
I'd like to say...
Once we can all begin together.
We have to create public opinion that unless our powers that be set the criminal justice system right, unless we have better paid more judges, unless we have police reforms implemented immediately, we will not vote these politicians back into power. Are we willing to say that? Or are we still willing to vote for somebody because he's a Hindu or because he belongs to our caste? We don't take our own constitution seriously. Why are we complaining about others?
But let's come back. Let's come back to what this means for Modi and to go to Rahul's point. I want to come to Professor Bandukwala. Professor Bandukwala, I was there in 2002 when your house, your daughter, you were assaulted by a mob. I remember talking to you after that. I remember how shaken you were. But yet you have controversially since then said it is time to forgive and forget. It is time for the Muslims of Gujarat to let this go. Some have called that a conspiracy of silence. Why do you believe, Professor Bandukwala, as a Muslim who is attacked, that it's time to let go?
See, well, the main point comes down here. I've spent years trying to convince the Gujarati leadership, leave aside politicians, I've tried to approach intellectuals, business leaders, High Court judges through the press, urging them, even godmen, to at least realize the enormity of what has happened and just say sorry because you have to close this chapter.
But do you think a sorry is enough for... You're saying who should say sorry? Narendra Modi?
No, but even over there... But even over there, even godmen, prominent godmen, were not even willing to say sorry. That is what today, my greatest pain is over here. See, if Gandhi had been there, Gandhi would have immediately said that what has happened is wrong. But no one, except for a few Gandhians and a few socialists, no one has come forward to say that what happened was wrong. It really pains us.
It comes back to Rahul's point that, okay, on the one hand, there are those who are demanding a legal resolution. But on the other hand, there are those who are just looking for some opportunity to create reconciliation. Shiv Vishwanathan, but is that what Narendra Modi would want? Because I come back to that psychological question that is this a man seeking an enemy because that is what? Is his political oxygen?
Look, I'm not bothered what Narendra Modi wants.
Yeah.
I also feel that people like Chandan Mitra, as politicians, have forgotten their old profession history. It's not just a question of activists and media. One of the most beautiful things about Gujarat today is the voices of the survivor has created a particular argument. These people got together and learnt about citizenship, learnt about law. Chandan thinks closure is like shutting a tap. There's memory, there's survival, there's the poetics of remembrance. You know, somewhere, don't forget, the victors can rewrite the history books, but the victim won't go away. So let's be very clear about one thing. What Narendra Modi wants is not interesting. We're looking at systemic questions, as Harish Salve put it, and you emphasized. We are looking at the fact that the Narendra Modi case is a test of Indian justice.
But for example, 1984 was, there is a legal aspect, but there is the political aspect. The Congress 25 years later decided to say sorry.
And you have
25 years later.
And you have Sajjan Kumar walking out on bail.
Wait. Sorry. Barkha, let us finish. First, let's lay this to rest. The fact that Congress is criminal and genocidal doesn't exonerate Narendra Modi.
Exactly.
So stop confusing the two. Sajjan Kumar needs as much attention from the Justice Department as Narendra Modi. So let's lay this to rest.
Chandan, quick response before I go to the others. Let me ask you. I know there are many people who think that an apology is some kind of cosmetic thing, but I am more interested in the fact that, is that enough? I mean, if the apology happened, but BJP doesn't even seem to be ready to contemplate that apology. And as Rahul says, to come out and see a man who does this after the riots, who in a sense embraces all the...
There's a difference between this and this.
Okay.
But there's a serious question.
Yeah. No, look, in seriousness, I mean, I can, Shiv very eloquently talked about, this...
the narrative of the survivor.
I mean, there is, I'm right at the outset. Right at the outset, I'm saying that what happened was a very, very shameful chapter in Indian history. No two ways. But the point is, how long are you going to go on and on and on? Keep reopening wounds when people are trying to get along with their lives. Now, for instance, this tailor, I forget his name, I think it's Asghar, who was taken to Calcutta. And the West Bengal government said, you come here, this is run by a secular party, we are going to give you all the best provisions. Man stayed there for 2 years and said, enough is enough, I want to come back to my Gujarat, I love my Gujarat, I'm back. No, 1 minute, please let me complete what I'm saying. So I'm saying that the time has definitely come. You see, it has, I think the wounds of 1984 have not healed even now. The wounds of Bhagalpur, only recently, the Bhagalpur...
But shouldn't we keep chasing every such genocide to its logical conclusion?
No, we should, but 1 minute. I think Harish is right, and Suhail is correct, that as long as the criminal justice system is like this, you cannot, asking for the boon in the present situation. I think everybody is doing their best.
Bandukwala and Shiv, he is also a survivor. To those who say,
I'm aware of it.
Yeah, no, of course. I don't think you live in Gujarat, you know all of this. I'm just saying to those who say, express remorse. Let Mr. Modi come out and express remorse. Would that be a beginning?
Of course it would be. It would be.
There are two levels.
I mean, as a person who has suffered, I'm just thinking from Dara and Rupa Modi's point of view. At least there is some kind of assurance, some kind of hope, the feeling of being wanted. I've lived all my life in Gujarat, and all of a sudden this happens to me. My son is gone, and nobody even cares for me. I mean, where do I belong? It's a sense of being wanted, and I think that's the most important thing in society, the feeling of being wanted, and that is not being shown to them.
And how do you deal in a sense with people on the margins? Well, we're going to take a quick break. After that, many of our panelists still haven't spoken. There's also the whole, Shiv can say, I'm not concerned with Modi. But in a sense, there is the paradox of Modi that has to be dealt with. There is the corporate India that embraces him as somebody, from Ratan Tata to Anil Ambani to Sunil Mittal, who puts him on a pedestal. And then there is Tanveer and the story of
corporate dons. They're not ethical heroes. Stop confusing the two.
I'm not confusing the two.
They are all photographed with Ratan Tata and everybody. They are mixing the industrialization part with the criminal part.
That's the part.
Why you collapsing the two? Why you collapsing
the common people of Gujarat have elected it.
One minute. We need to take a break. I am going in for a break. Devang, 1 minute. Sanjay, I have to go for a break. I'll come back to you first of all. We need to take a break. We'll come back to look at the paradox of Narendra Modi. Can he ever be a leader of national acceptance unless he confronts 2002? That's coming up after the break. Welcome back to We the People. As Narendra Modi is asked to appear before a Supreme Court appointed panel investigating who was accountable for the riots of 2002, we're debating, can Narendra Modi ever be recast as a national leader unless he confronts the shadow of 2002? We're of course going to go back to our panel in just a minute. I want to get Sushil Pandit in as somebody who designs, in a sense, many of the advertising campaigns for the BJP as well as for Narendra Modi. What is the key dimension that you believe was the USP that you were projecting from a marketing perspective?
I think the disconnect that I see between the India, which is outside, that comes out and votes, and the professional Modi bashers that crowd around in studios, is there. That contrast is too stark to miss. You find people who look at him as somebody who delivers, who look at him as somebody who is different from the breed of politicians they've suffered over the years, and they vote for him. It is not that an image you create, either through campaigns or through studio discussions, that goes and sticks itself. I think post-2002, the kind of media trial he went through
has helped him.
In fact, people had written him off. The election results were supposed to have consigned him to the dustbin of history, but he came back riding with a huge mandate. I think somewhere the penny should have dropped, because people not only see and hear what the media prints and says about him, but they also see as to how he delivers, how he conducts himself.
And that's where I come back to what I said.
Where his integrity is coming from, where the vision is. And that can't be brushed aside, absolutely.
I want to go to Shiv and Suhail on this, and then I'll go into the audience.
And it's not just in Gujarat. Yes. I must say, in Karnataka, assembly elections.
But the figures did not bear that out in the Lok Sabha elections, certainly, in terms of this impact that you talk about. It was very different.
Those elections were not Modi elections.
So if there were Modi-centric elections, then it could have been different.
You see, whenever the point
he becomes Prime Minister, he will deliver in India.
Those are not Modi elections.
Yeah, it's called an abortion.
That's your view.
Okay, Devang, I'm going to come to you in just a second. Shiv, but this is, and I want to
take it seriously.
Yes, it is a serious point. It is a serious.
Maggie sauce is also different. Now, what I'm trying to say is, if you're going to sell a chief minister like a commodity, it's a different grammar. They're better experts on this.
Oh, no.
I think the question here is this. Don't confuse. Democracy composes the rule of law and electoral politics. Do not isolate electoral politics from rule of law. There is a question here, because majorities have voted for tyrannies all the time. After the 84 riots, you voted the Congress back to power.
All of them. All the candidates.
So, don't confuse
all of them.
majoritarianism.
No. I think that's an important point. Sushil, quickly, and Sushil, I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you, Sushil.
But that's the earlier point I made. If you have a democracy which does not ban or bar people with criminality from contesting for elections, you don't expect the so-called democracy to only throw up angels. A. B. To take forward Sushil's point, there is a reality which we have to face. It's sad, but it's true. The people in Gujarat actually see deliverance in development. They see food on their table. They see protection. Whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, he delivers. Industrialists go there because they are responsible to shareholders and they believe he will deliver. He won't ask for money. Now, that's the reality that you have to face up to, whether we like it or not.
On the development issue, let us be clear. Each and every social index, female health, literacy, everything indicates that Gujarat is among the lowest in all the major states.
But then look at the
But then look at the traffic.
One minute.
For example, if you'll allow me,
media
I'll just give you.
has hailed Narendra Modi as the development chief minister.
No, but that's what I'm saying. For example,
okay, you're all speaking together, one at a time, please.
I'll just, if I can just give you
one second. Tanveer, 1 minute, 1 minute, one at a time.
Whatever. See, there are 1.7 million girls between 6 and 14 who have never attended school in Gujarat. There are 289 primary schools in which there is not a single teacher.
So you're saying that social development indices are still a problem, but there is a larger but we can't get trapped in that debate. There's a question here, and then I'm coming to you, Teesta. Yes. On this development versus the morality of what Modi represents to some.
See, many people have said that Modi hasn't expressed his sorry that to the nation at large. Actually, his vote bank is thriving squarely on not saying sorry to the nation.
Absolutely.
First of all, very, very important factor is that. Very, very important factor. Any person can be looked at from 3 different angles. As a positive utility, zero utility, and negative utility. If, all in all, he is a negative utility person, why I am saying, if you say that Gujarat has become stronger, BJP has got stronger in Gujarat, but BJP has lost many things because of Modi. And very, very importantly, please, if BJP makes him as the face of BJP, they are in mistaken belief that the youth and the voter of this country is going to accept him as the face. Because
Somebody next to you will disagree.
Yeah. I remember that in the Center of Peace and Progress in Calcutta, in the Calcutta Press Club, and it was completely overflowing because of Modi. If you go to the remote parts of Assam, people are drawn there by the thought, even without minimum preparation, that Modi is coming. So, this is absolutely wrong, that that BJP could not gain ground in other parts has something to do with the Modi stigma. Rather because Modi was not projected as a national leader and probably he wanted to.
Okay, so we heard 2 completely opposite perspectives of this man who divides Indian public opinion in this deep way. One more question then, Teesta, to you. Yeah.
It's basically not a question. I just want to echo what people have said out here. You really become famous when you are infamous indeed in a society. That's one. And 2, the fact is we are actually missing on a very important point. That even if, I don't know, I really want to sympathize for what has happened to the victims out here. And I don't want to undo which has already been happened. But if Gujaratis have changed their priorities of choosing somebody, why can't the entire India can do that? Let's just understand that this is a very, very important, very integral social indicator.
But the question is what the priority should be. All right, one more question here. Yeah, just one second, Sushil. Yeah.
Sir, you said we have to let go.
Chandan, yeah.
The Gujaratis, why do we have to go and open their wounds again? So I just want to ask you, what if Hitler comes back to life today and says, okay, I'm going to work for people? And you say, oh yeah, let him be the leader over here because we don't want to reopen the wounds. Do you think you'll be able to accept him as a leader now?
Okay, Chandan, quick response to that. Yeah.
Answer. No, but the point is that I'm not saying that only Gujaratis have to should not reopen the wounds. I think Mr. Narendra Modi has been subjected to persecution, and I use the word in all seriousness.
Chandan, these two men here sitting to my right and left, have they not been subjected to
I think don't go that far. We consider him the equivalent of Hitler.
He has been
I try not to cut in.
Okay, but
let me complete.
Yeah, okay, Chandan, quickly.
He has been persecuted by a whole number of activists and a section of the media. In spite of that, there is not a single thing that has been established in any court of law, in any...
for God's sake,
Okay, Chandan, just to make your point, and I've got Devan Nanavati here waiting to speak for a very long time.
How long are you going to continue?
Teesta, can I position a slightly more complex question? Is it true that 8 years later, we've got to be able to see Modi in shades of grey? That we keep hiding from the fact that there is one set of people who does perceive him differently, and so we polarize the debate more?
Barkha, that's a question about Barkha Dutt. For us who are fighting for the victims of 2002, we've got a very focused goal, which is we want justice for the survivors. And if there is enough evidence against the man at the top, and if the chain of command can be established in a court of law, I think constitutional governance in this country is as important as electoral politics. I just want to say 2 things more. One is that there's a complete lie being repeated on television all the time by stooges for the BJP, which is that the Gujarat government has honored the court. I just want to make one point clear. If the Supreme Court had not kept a needle's eye on the process of justice in Gujarat, a needle's eye which has not wavered, and unfortunately it was not there in 84, and unfortunately it was not there in 92, 93, but it's there this time. If the Supreme Court had wavered, God help us, there would have been complete mass acquittals, as Harish said.
And you have to move Best Bakery
out. When the Best Bakery judgment happened on 12th of April 2004, Justice Khare had already made remarks against the Chief Minister questioning his Raj Dharma. Modi said nothing about Chief Justice while he sat in his chair. The day Justice Khare retired, he said, Khare ki kote, Khare ki kote. This is the man. He does not respect due process. He does not respect the Chief Justice. He does not respect the National Human Rights Commission.
I don't want to remind people here about what Zahira Sheikh had to say about the lady sitting next to me in the Best Bakery case. She was very well.
I want to add something. I would like to remind Mr. Chandan Mitra, who fought the emergency, he seems to have forgotten his own biography. Thank you.
Okay.
Why not?
Why you picking on him?
Not only that.
I have fought the emergency. I will fight it again.
Okay,
I will fight it again.
All right.
Let's even the
everything.
Tanveer, 1 minute. Devang's been trying to speak for a while. Devang, yeah, go ahead. Yes.
Well, there are 3 issues that I'll quickly respond. First, on the Best Bakery case, though it was moved out, the courts have held that the investigation done by the Gujarat police, the prosecution done, has been correct.
But
you need just
Teesta,
let me finish. You had your day. You have to let other people
Okay,
speak.
make your point.
Okay.
Come on.
The other point is very quickly that the Supreme Court has kept a needle eye on the judicial process, which is the judiciary of the Gujarat High Court and the Gujarat lower courts. It is not the government of Gujarat that it is keeping a needle eye on. Please try to distinguish. And when we are talking of this debate, we must take it into 2 different levels. One, I sympathize with all the victims who are here or who they are representing. There is no doubt on the individual sufferings, but you need to bifurcate this debate into 2 parts. One is the larger question, whether what brand Modi is, what is his role, what is his moral role, what should be the implications, what should be the rule of law concept, democracy, etc. The other is individual justice in each case where the
But you know, sometimes individuals add up to a larger.
I agree. And also, please also, will someone tell me what is the conviction rate in riot cases since 1947 in India, and why has the media or anyone else not debated this issue till now in India?
So quickly, and then I need to get some audience
Very
questions
quickly,
here.
some of us who travel abroad on work, isn't it a travesty of justice that one of your so-called highly developed states, which most people think it is, also has this stigma attached to it, which our justice system has not been able to correct? I mean, brand Modi, while it may benefit Gujarat, also has a negative impact on brand India. Because people say that we have a banana republic as far as our justice system is concerned.
Which is what the gentleman there said.
No,
but the big
just to take this away, brand India was damaged when we went under emergency.
Okay.
When the
Okay. All right.
Chandan, as I said,
Sajan Kumar.
I've always said, is hammam mein sab nange hain. It's not about the Congress or about the BJP.
All right.
Don't bring Gujarat into it. It's not about the Congress.
Let's take a break. And I think we all agree.
What about brand India?
Once again, I think we all agree that brand India is tarnished by Sajan Kumar. But why is that used every time you talk about 2002? 1984 has been brought up. Let us say on record that 1984 is a blot as well. Let's take a break. When we come back, the deeper stigma and the deeper travesty of justice that 2002 represents. Final comments on that after the break. Welcome back to We the People. We're debating what it means for the image and the reputation, the moral reputation of Narendra Modi now that he's been asked to appear before a Supreme Court appointed panel on the riots. Before we get last comments from our panelists, let's hear from the audience.
Well, I'm from Gujarat, and my only question is that should not be the development in the administration and the economic progress be seen as a compensation? I mean, I know that what has gone cannot be brought back, but the progress that the state is making, should not that be seen now?
So you're saying development is a kind of healing. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that could act as a healing.
Okay, it's a thought. I know many will disagree with it. You disagree with it, yes?
I disagree with it because I feel the whole economic development, the whole brand that Narendra Modi has created is more like a cover-up after 2002 riots.
Okay, so 2 very different views. Yes.
I'm also from Gujarat, and I've also, I mean, I'm not as enlightened as a panelist, but I've also seen a lot of change on the ground for the better. And my only question to many of the panelists is that do you particularly want Narendra Modi to go, or you want the system to change? Because the impression going on is completely different here.
Park that question, Teesta. It's a good question. Let's get a comment here. Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I'm compelled to say that we as Indians are incapable of differentiating between somebody who can give good governance and also indulge in a genocide. So we need to differentiate between the two.
All right. Very, very, very sort of compelling statement there. Let's get a comment here.
When we were talking about saying sorry, is actually now sorry going to help? That's what I want to know. Is sorry going to change anything right now?
All right. Pass the mic here. Yeah.
Yeah. So you talked about that this wasn't it wasn't a Modi election, the 2009 general elections, so the BJP lost perhaps. But the mere inkling that Narendra Modi can be the next prime ministerial candidate for the BJP hampered the vote share. Just goes on to show that it doesn't have the mass appeal. In fact, people didn't vote for the BJP because they got this inkling that maybe.
So very different views we're hearing. Just a minute, let's hear some more. Yeah, let's hear some more. Let's hear some more. Chandan, 8 minutes.
We're all giving our
How many more people would we be killing in riots and then saying that let's forget about them and move ahead? How many more people do you want to kill?
That's pause. Can you ever really forget? All right, young girl here.
Using the terminology Mr. Suhail said use, that in one bucket you have the marketing brand Modi, and on the other hand you have a bucket where the survivors are asking for justice. When the youth from Gujarat just said that he's compensating using development, how can you just mix the contents of two buckets? On one hand you have development, and on one hand you have a group.
So apples and oranges really, in a sense.
He's not mixing it. That's the perspective.
Okay, one second, yeah.
What I wanted to say was this brand that he's created. It's something that has been because of his governance. He's considered a good administrator, not a good leader. So if he's taken on a national level and he has been facilitating a very enterprising community, basically Gujaratis are very good entrepreneurs. So if we take him to the national level, how will he? There's no proof that he's going to be a good leader.
I think this is a very interesting distinction between a good leader and a good administrator. Something about the media you wanted to say?
I want to question the partisan nature of media. When we're talking about good administration, that is not highlighted as much as the other aspects are highlighted.
Okay, I'm really at the end of time. One last comment.
Ma'am, I want to say that every time we say that Mr. Modi is doing this, Mr. Modi is doing that, what we forget is it is the Gujarati entrepreneurs. They are very skilled people. They are very spirited people. We had people like Dhirubhai Ambani. We had we had the Ruyas. They were the people who industrialized the state initially. They are
so
the
you
people
don't think
who
it has anything to do with Modi?
It's a hype. It's a team. It's a teamwork.
All right. I am going to get last comments, but I'm seeing so many hands raised here. Yes, go ahead.
I'd like to ask, what is Mr. Modi afraid of? Is he afraid that his faithful supporters are finally going to stimulate their minds and think that he might not do all what is wrong? I want to ask is, in India, we have a habit of making superpowers, people at superior positions, the image is untouchable and their words sacrosanct. And now, when these summons are finally changing this thing, why are we moving back? We should move ahead.
Okay, this really has to be the last question. Choose one of you.
If you talk about the political trajectory, what I want to question is the brand Modi. Brand Modi is still the fact that when he was in Sangh Parivar, he's still favored by a lot many people, and on the other hand, he's considered a mass murderer. He's still the same since 2002. His brand Modi hasn't changed.
All right, that's, I think, the perfect cue to take final comments. Let me start with Sushil. Do you see... It's an interesting and it's a marketing analysis, a political analysis that actually he hasn't changed. He continues to be seen as divisive. He continues to retain a hold over Gujarat, but there is no evidence that he has that hold anywhere else.
No, I beg to differ. I think we need to, first of all, question some sweeping generalizations that people choose dictators all the time. He must remember in 77, Mrs. Gandhi, despite the claims of trains running on time and everything working efficiently, was routed in the elections. People have not chosen dictators in elections all the time. In fact,
no, but I was questioning...
Number one. Number two...
Quickly, I'm out of time on the show.
Yes, some again, wrong figures. Can you believe that the dropout rate of girl child in schools is less than 3% in Gujarat? Can you believe?
This is making the debate very micro.
No.
There are larger questions here. There are larger questions. We're winding up the show. We're winding up the show here. Rahul Dholakia, what worries you the most? I mean, you made a film that you had trouble screening in Gujarat. There's also that and Maharashtra. Okay.
No,
what worries you the most?
On my own. I didn't have problems.
Yeah, Rahul, what worries you the most?
See, we all talk about him as being a great administrator. His administration failed in 2002. There's so many people died.
That's a good point.
And everybody came out on the streets for 72 hours, nothing happened. Okay, as a leader, he failed to bring back he failed to
create any reconciliation.
Any reconciliations amongst the victims. Of course, yes, I mean, his administration is going superb and his development in the state is going very well as far as everything is concerned. But the basic thing as a citizen of a state, I need to be safe in my state. And that is there for a certain section. It's not there for the other section.
All right. I'm really at the end, Suhail, very quickly. When there is a minority in Gujarat that lives in a sense, ghettoized Ahmedabad, ghettoized, I mean, the Muslims now live in ghettos where they're worried about the security. Is there a distinction, as the young lady said here, between being a good leader and a good administrator?
Absolutely. And I think where Narendra Modi could have succeeded is, whether apology or whatever, Leaders are meant to be the glue for a nation. They're supposed to bind people. When you divide people, you create more problems than solutions. And I think Narendra Modi realizes that. Because I have to say, and you know, I'm not a hypocrite, I put it down on paper. As an administrator, if you talk to people who live in Gujarat, you talk to industry which is looking at investing in Gujarat, they say he's clean, the governance is good administration.
But what about leadership shifts?
But that's the...
Two quick points.
Yeah, quickly.
If genocide is a form of competence, he's a good administrator. Second,
very good.
No, and one more point. If he's a leader, let him apologize the way Willy Brandt did. I will accept it.
Teesta, last thoughts?
I think he's being summoned next Sunday. Our information is he will not appear. I wish he does. No, I'm not making this lightly. I think it's very important that he appears. It's the first time that a chief functionary of a state is being summoned on charges of mass murder and crime. So we are not undermining that. But we do believe there's prima facie evidence for the first information report. And we believe the case must have closure, not through an abortion of justice, but through a carriage of justice.
Chandan, is there anything in that sounds unreasonable?
No, it's absolutely entirely unreasonable.
What?
So what do we mean? What sounds unreasonable?
No, just the fact that he has to appear. He has to appear. He has to account for...
Every Indian citizen has the right to seek legal opinion and decide what's the best course for him. He will do that. And now the point is that I think I'm very upset today with Shiv. My dear friend, you know, using terms so loosely, Shiv, a sociologist of your standing, I'm really, I'm surprised that you do this. Third and final point I would like to make is that, you see, the Gujarat government has cooperated fully with the courts. Every case has been probed. The Gujarat police's, the very people identified by the Gujarat police in all the major cases, whether it be Bilkis Banu, Zahira Sheikh, all these cases, only they have been punished. So, and every tantrum of the NGOs has been listened to.
But why are you calling it a tantrum? Chandan, would you concede? Chandan, would you at least concede that the Supreme Court at some point was apprehensive about justice being delivered in Gujarat, which is why the cases were moved out?
Well, it has kept the so-called needle's eye. And after that, there's been no change. Gujarat police's prosecution has been
I am reaching the end of the show. I think we've heard a lot of perspectives. I think very quickly, 10 seconds. 10 seconds.
Please hold a we the people, where the people of Gujarat, including the minority communities, brought and asked their opinion about Narendra Modi and the government.
But I am saying to you, Devang, that this is about...
Please do that. The will of the people of Gujarat cannot
I'm going to give Professor Bandukwala the last word. And I just...
Even by the people of Gujarat.
It's been repeated for 10 years.
See, bear in mind that BJP President Gadkari has described Modi as another Mahatma Gandhi.
Same.
It shows your bankruptcy. It shows how low you have fallen.
But you know
that Gadkari calls him a Mahatma Gandhi.
Not a sociologist.
It's a shame on you all.
Alright.
Shame on the saffron.
But in all this, we the people need to be ashamed.
Should have at least read the statement before making.
But in all this, Barkha,
so are you. You are a good one to talk.
This is what happens.
In all this, we the people need not a chastened Narendra Modi. We need a more powerful, impactful, and deliverable justice system, because these debates will continue.
And I think we have to close with what. बिल्कुल टाइम खत्म हो गया एक सेंटेंस में आपकी माँ ने एक अकेला ये बैटल लड़ा है व्हाट इज शी
वो सब उनके पीछे वो सब लोग हैं जो शहीद हुए हैं उसमें जिन्हों की प्रॉपर्टी चली गई जिनको मार दिया गया है वो सब उनके साथ में है वो तो एक रिप्रेजेंट कर रही है उनको मैं चाहता हूँ कि इस जो पिटिशन किया उसके एफआईआर में तब्दील हो ये समन्स तो एक चीज है ठीक है वो हुई है वेलकम बट
that's the whole but
they're also people of Gujarat. Let me tell you,
they're also people of Gujarat.
Here are the people of Gujarat. I agree. And I would like to say a few things here.
I'm out of time. I'm very sorry. Okay, 1 minute. Can I be heard, please, sir? We're out of time.
Please add the name of
I think the tragedy. All right. I think the tragedy here, if everybody is going to shout, I'll have to shout too.
I must say, at least at the end,
I think what we do not understand is this is not just about the people of Gujarat with all their different views. This is about the heart of India, no matter whether it's 1984, Bhagalpur or 2002. This is a system on trial, and if we cannot deliver it says something about us as a people. I think let's close with agreement on that one sentence. Thank you very much. And about our democracy.
And have a debate on everything.